let's book the next 5 years of Austin Theory's WWE career. This story starts at Wrestlemania 40. Tag team turmoil begins as teams challenge for the tag team titles. Balor and Priest defeat Alpha Academy and the Creed brothers, but their next challenge is DIY. Priest and Balor put up a fight, but DIY are too fresh and too intense. DIY beat Priest and Balor for the titles, and they await the next challenges. It's okay for Priest, as later in the night he does cash in on Drew for the world title, who just beat Seth Rollins for the belt. DIY just barely defeat Pretty Deadly and await their final challenge of Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Theory and Waller use their position as the final entrants to defeat DIY for the unified tag team titles. Following WrestleMania, DIY would get their rematch at Backlash, but Waller and Theory would return after receiving help from their buddy Logan Paul. The next week on SmackDown, Nick Aldis would announce that the tag team belts will be split. Theory and Waller will keep the SmackDown tag team titles, and the Raw tag team titles will be decided in a tournament which would later be won by DIY. After their feud with DIY, Theory and Waller would start a faction with Logan Paul, which they would name the Influencers. Theory and Waller would successfully defend the tag team titles against Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins at SummerSlam, and on the same night, Logan Paul would beat Bobby Lashley to win back the United States Championship, which he lost to Kevin Owens earlier in the year at WrestleMania. Theory would interfere in the match and cost Lashley the title, as he has not forgot about when Lashley cost him his Money in the Bank cash-in on Seth Rollins for the US title a couple of years ago. The Pride would battle against the Influencers all the way to War Games, when the two factions would go head-to-head in the confines of the cage. The Pride would ultimately win the War Games match, but the Influencers still hold the gold on SmackDown, which is what it's all about as we head into 2025. At the Rumble, Logan Paul would enter the Rumble match at number 1, and Rey Mysterio would follow at number 2. Both Paul and Mysterio would last well over 30 minutes in the match, until Mysterio would eliminate Logan. Following the Rumble, Mysterio and his LWO would feud with the Influencers heading into WrestleMania. Outnumbered by the addition of Zelina Vega to the rivalry, the Influencers would add the number 1 contender to Zelina's women's title, Tiffany Stratton. At Mania, it would be a clean sweep for the Influencers, as Tiffany Stratton would win the women's title from Zelina Vega. Theory and Waller would retain the SmackDown tag team titles against Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, and Logan Paul would defeat Rey Mysterio to retain the United States title. Following WrestleMania, Logan would move on to a program with Bron Breakker for the US title, which he would lose on an episode of SmackDown. At Money in the Bank, Logan would enter the Money in the Bank ladder match and would go on to win the match to claim the Money in the Bank briefcase. Theory and Waller would defend their tag team titles against the Authors of Pain on the same night, but after over a year as tag team champions, they would drop the titles to AOP. In the weeks following Money in the Bank, tension would increase between Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Grayson blames Theory for their lack of success as of late. Logan would make it clear that there is no space in the Influencers for losers, as it of course negatively affects the group's presence on social media, which is what it's all about. Logan wants to see who wants to be in the group more, so he sets up a match between the two at SummerSlam. Grayson Waller versus Austin Theory. The winner stays in the group, and the loser leaves the Influencers. At SummerSlam, Waller and Theory would go head-to-head to fight for their place within the Influencers. After a hard-fought match between the two, Grayson would land a Rolling Thunder Stunner to beat Theory and to claim his place within the group. After the match, Logan would beat down Theory as he is kicked from the group. Following SummerSlam, the fans would start to cheer for Theory, as most feel sorry for how he was exiled from the group. Theory would not care about the fan support at first, but as the weeks go on, he would start to enjoy the support from the fans, as he took the fight to the Influencers. At Hell in a Cell, Austin Theory and Logan Paul would clash inside a Hell in a Cell match. All would be going great for Theory during the match, but a bump through the announce table would be enough to get the victory for Logan and would put Theory out of action for the next couple of months. The next month at Survivor Series, Logan would cash in on the current World Heavyweight Champion AJ Styles, which is currently the main title on SmackDown after the draft. Logan would pin Styles after his war against LA Knight to win his first world title in the WWE. At the Royal Rumble, Logan would successfully retain his title against AJ Styles after an interference from Grayson Waller. Later in the night, Logan would watch from backstage as he awaits the result of the Royal Rumble match. Making his entrance at number 30, Austin Theory would return to a huge ovation from the fans. Theory would charge straight for Grayson Waller and would eliminate him from the match. It would come down to Theory, Carmelo Hayes, CM Punk and Gunther. Out of nowhere, Logan Paul would enter the ring and would eliminate Theory from the match. After the Rumble, Theory would demand a match against Logan Paul to get revenge for what transpired at the Rumble. Nick Aldis would tell Theory that the only way he will get his hands on Logan Paul is if he wins the Elimination Chamber and earns an opportunity to face Logan at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. Theory would enter the chamber with no other choice. If he wants to get his revenge on Logan, he has to first enter the chamber. After a brutal Elimination Chamber match, Theory would be left with just one obstacle in his way: Grayson Waller, who qualified for the match purely to stop Theory from winning. Theory would manage to plant Waller with an 8-count down to win the match and book his ticket to WrestleMania. At WrestleMania 42, two of the biggest young stars in the WWE go head to head for the World Heavyweight Championship. Logan Paul defends against Austin Theory. Theory and Logan would clash in a career highlight match. Logan would try everything to put Theory away, but he just keeps coming back. Logan would attempt a springboard lariat, but Theory would catch him in the 8-count down to win the match and to win his first world title in the WWE. Following WrestleMania, Theory would be drafted to Raw along with his World Heavyweight Championship. For the remainder of the year, he would face new challengers on the Raw brand. He would successfully retain the world title multiple times against the likes of Shinsuke Nakamura, Solo Sikoa, and Bronson Reed. At the 2027 Royal Rumble, a huge return would completely shift the landscape of the WWE. More popular than ever, Dolph Ziggler would make his return, winning the Royal Rumble match after almost 4 years away from the WWE. Dolph would be tasked with choosing either to face World Heavyweight Champion Austin Theory or the WWE Universal Champion Bron Breakker at WrestleMania. With Dolph's history with Breakker, he seemingly sets his sights on Bron and the Universal title. Dolph would slightly downplay the importance of the World Heavyweight title, which Theory did not like. Theory would attack Dolph after feeling like he disrespected him, turning heel once again. Despite wanting to face Bron for the Universal title, Dolph would want revenge on Theory, so therefore chooses to face him at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. At WrestleMania, Theory and Ziggler would clash for the World Heavyweight title in a no-holds-barred match. Ziggler would bring the fight to Theory. Austin would try to land an 8-count down, but Dolph would reverse the move, landing a zigzag. Ziggler would be about to pin Theory, but out of nowhere, Dijak would arrive and would blast Ziggler with a big boot. And Theory would land an 8-count down to retain the title. Following WrestleMania, Theory would introduce Dijak as his personal bodyguard. Ziggler would try again to capture the World Heavyweight Championship at Backlash against Theory. This time, his efforts were worth it, as he would fight off Dijak to defeat Theory and to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Following Backlash, Theory and Dijak would be traded to SmackDown in the draft. Back on the blue brand, and with Dijak by his side, Theory feels untouchable. With Dijak's influence, Theory would win the Money in the Bank briefcase for the second time in his career. Hopefully this time around, he will be more successful. As the end of the year draws near, Dijak would start to receive a lot of love from the fans. Jealous of the popularity Dijak has built, Theory starts to feel threatened by Dijak's presence. Nick Aldis would announce that the upcoming 2029 Royal Rumble will not crown the winner with the title opportunity, but instead will crown the winner as the WWE Universal Champion, due to the title's current vacant status following a real-life injury Bron Breakker sustained that forced him to vacate the belt. At the Royal Rumble, both Theory and Dijak would enter the Rumble match. Dijak would do most of the work, eliminating many participants throughout the course of the match. In the final three, it would be Dijak, Theory, and Gunther. Dijak would go to war with Gunther and would finally manage to eliminate him. With just Theory and Dijak remaining in the match, Theory would demand that Dijak eliminates himself from the match. With the crowd chanting Dijak's name, he blasts Theory with a boot to the face, before throwing him over the top rope. Dijak is the new WWE Universal Champion. But not for long. Theory would blast Dijak with a chair before cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase to win the WWE Universal Championship for the first time in his career. Following the Rumble, Theory would have a target on his back. He'd finally have the Universal title, but he also has an angry 6'7" monster hunting him down. Dijak would have to wait all the way till SummerSlam to get a rematch for the Universal title. Facing almost impossible odds against the furious Dijak, Theory would be forced to resort to the lowest tactics to retain his title, destroying Dijak's leg with a chair, losing the match by disqualification but retaining the title, and to sideline Dijak with an injury that requires surgery. As 2028 would go on, Theory would do everything in his power to keep the title, but he will always be a marked man. At the 2029 Royal Rumble, Dijak is back, and he wants justice.